And we are live. So this will be our monthly chat with the patrons for the month of June. We've got a few people already in. How are you guys doing today? And we are live.
Quite fine.
All right. And it's going to take us all a minute probably to figure out Jitsi if you don't use Jitsi. So it took me a few minutes this morning to remember how to use this thing. Of course, it always takes me a few minutes to figure out how to use Zoom when we do Zoom or whatever it is we do. Because I never use this kind of software, this video chat software. The only time I use this stuff is for this here. In real life. I never do any of this. All right. Still getting some stuff together here. All right, let's see what is the big news items to chat about today. I noticed that Linux Mint 20 is finally released. Any of you guys plan to check that out, or any of you guys run Linux Mint? Negative? I'll probably check it out, though.
There we go. Turns out I had my mic muted.
Yeah, one of the things with Jitsi, I think it mutes you by default when you first join. So everybody starts muted, yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the quirks with it. And I'm going to try to adjust some of the volume here. Whoever was just speaking, your volume is a little low to me.
Yeah, I had to fix it
for a
work meeting.
Yeah, it's just one of the things we have to deal with these kinds of things. We're never going to get the audio levels perfect on something like this.
It's annoying because Teams records everything that I say far too loud,
yeah.
But everything else records it too low.
Mm-hmm.
There we go, that's on 44, that should be better now.
Ooh, maybe back it off a little bit because that introduced some static.
That better?
Yeah, well, maybe just a hair back more, but that was pretty close.
That better?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm.
My audio?
Yeah, your audio's good.
Is good. Okay. Hi everyone.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm fine, thanks.
All right.
Calling from Switzerland.
Ah, cool. And everybody here, are we all named Fellow Jitser? I was just looking for everybody's names.
Apparently so.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm not the only one that doesn't use Jitsi. I was worried I'd be the only noob here that didn't know how to operate this thing.
Unfortunately, I had to use Zoom for a college thing the other day, so I had to create an account on that.
Yeah. Yeah, Zoom is not bad for proprietary software if you got to use it. At least it works. The real problem with a lot of proprietary software is much of it doesn't work. People always get mad when I call pretty much all proprietary programs proprietary garbage. They're like, yeah, but this one program I use, it's not garbage. Well, how do you know?
Hello.
Hey, big
I
bud.
mean, that's basically me with Discord,
Yeah.
so...
You have no idea what they're doing, underneath. You don't know what they're doing to you, right? You can't see the code. And somebody in the chat was asking about my journey learning Haskell. It's still early days learning Haskell. So,
can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we got you, Big Pod.
Yes. I think I've just about got to a place where I'm okay to start using Xmonad as my main window manager, but even then I'm struggling with a lot of it.
Yeah, it's not the easiest thing to get into first.
I mean, coming from BSPWM, it's all right, but going from a Bash script to all of a sudden a Haskell file is kind of jarring.
No. Well, I guess it depends. If you already knew bash scripting, if you don't know either one, then it's probably yeah.
I mean, I didn't before that.
Right.
I had sort of had to learn it for the purpose of being able to dynamically register my two monitors.
Yeah. Because when you think about it from a complete noob perspective, bash scripting, I mean, the syntax and the form of it, it's really confusing. Like, bash scripting really doesn't make much sense when you first look at it.
It's weird because I see like so many people evangelize bash, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, none of this syntax makes any sense.
It really doesn't. Can't we just script everything in Python?
I mean, why do you need why are if statements done with like 2 square brackets? Like,
Yeah. Beyond really basic scripts, I say, don't do it.
And what?
The most complex scripts that I do are, in many cases, just if I really am running bunch of commands from shell, then okay. But if you're doing anything more than that, go with Python, go with, I don't know, other scripting languages, or if it's something even more complex, go with a more complex programming language.
Yeah. The only weird thing I've never understood with shell scripting, though, and I don't know why they just don't change it. Why are the block statements, like the if statements and case statements, why do they end with that word reversed? That is so dumb to have an if statement end with fi and a case statement to end with esac. It's like, can't you just end it with the word end? You know, like a normal language, you just have end as the closing bracket or the closing tag.
you know what it was? Someone was looking at it and they're like, we need to make this syntax look more terminal-like.
Right.
You know, let's introduce confusion into bash.
Yeah.
Like, Big Pod, I think your mic might have a bit of static behind it. I can hear a lot of static in my headphones.
Could be because Zoom takes a lot to get it normal sound.
Yeah.
Any better now?
Okay, if you just change something, it sounds like it might not be you.
Well, I can figure it out really quick. I could just mute everybody and then unmute you one at a time. Who is not muted? The only person that is not muted actually is me right now, isn't it? We definitely have some line noise here. Ah, there it is. I can't tell who it is because they don't have a name. Fellow
Gypser number 3.
Yeah, right. So,
Yeah.
he's probably...
It's one of the Jitsi people.
I don't know if that person has spoken yet, so he may have not even got his mic set up. It may be set to some weird input that's not really a mic.
How loud am I? Is it okay?
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, you're fine.
You're fine to me. I'm not previewing the actual stream on YouTube, so...
Because, for example, on Biddle, when I'm doing over Zoom, when I'm on normal sound level like I'm now, I'm almost silent. I have to boost over 100%, something like 120.
I just checked the stream. Everyone seems alright now.
Yeah, the sound, I mean, it sounds okay in my earbuds. But you never know, because what they hear from Jitsi on the stream from all of you guys is different than what they're going to hear from me. My mic is actually it's recorded through OBS. So I have to worry about my level versus everybody else. That's usually the problem when people start complaining about the sound, is I'll be louder than you guys, or you guys will be louder than me. All right. Yeah, so you think you're going to jump into Xmonad?
I've sort of been forced to use it recently because I've just started using NixOS as my main OS on my laptop and my PC, but for some reason my BSPWM config just wouldn't update at all. So I mean, it looks like it might have been a light DM issue, but I had a really basic skeleton of an Xmonad config anyway. So I thought I might as well just give it a try.
Yeah. Yeah, once you have your config up and running with Xmonad, things really never change with Xmonad and Haskell. You never really have to worry about your config breaking once you have it set up. Only thing is, anytime there is a Haskell update, and they update all the time, you have to remember to recompile Xmonad.
Yeah, luckily, I mean,
But you can automate that.
Yeah, I mean, NixOS isn't a rolling release distro, so I don't really have to worry about stupidly frequent updates like I used to.
Yeah, I can tell you, I get a Haskell update like 3-4 times a week on Arch. Like almost every day. So
I'm sure I probably would if I set my channel on NixOS to unstable, because that's pretty frequently updated. But I only have that on for a couple of packages, just sheerly because I don't exist in the stable ones yet.
I don't have those problems with Ubuntu.
Well, you wouldn't, yeah. That is the great thing about a stable distro is you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
I think that the only problem with those is that if there's a big security update, it's got to be vetted before it can be released.
Yeah.
Like feature updates, that's slightly less important to push out as quick as possible. But like with R, you can get it released within like a few hours of it being, released on GitHub or whatever source code repository.
Well, as far as the security updates, I mean, serious security updates like vulnerabilities in the kernel and things like that,
yeah,
they're going to push
I mean, those get
really
priority.
quickly.
Matter of fact,
but like
example,
if
Ubuntu have a special team just for those, and they just handle security. So basically, what they do is as far as I know, they do snap security and security packages, and that gets done quickly. So as soon as the vulnerability is out, they're working on it.
I suppose I would need an entirely new team for snap security, because that's all completely sandbox. So if something can break the sandbox, that's a bad time.
Well, canonical security team is, as far as I know, they do everything there.
Now, what do you guys think about Linux Mint and the snaps as far as trying to keep people from installing snaps?
Well, in my opinion,
never much liked Mint.
Yeah, I mean, me neither, but now I really don't like it. I think, first of all, the whole dropping snaps, okay, if you don't like them, okay.
Yeah,
problem is the way they handle things.
Yeah, they dropped it a couple of years ago. I mean, they removed Snapd. So
my problem is how they handled it. Basically, they started with the whole high horse throwing accusations or at canonical, how they do. For example, look at something like System 76. They didn't like Snap. They didn't like Chromium package being installed as a Snap. They didn't cry like babies. They didn't stand on the high horse and start throwing accusations at canonical. They just fixed the issue. They created a repository, or a PPA in this case, and added a Chromium as a package. No, what Mint did, they just threw accusations, blocked Snap, and blocked possibility of installing Chromium, and just said they will point them to Google's installation procedure, which is, in my opinion, just bad. And funny enough, the Mint team is throwing accusations canonical. They're basically biting the hand that feeds them, because all they use is the infrastructure of canonical, with everything from Launchpad to Ubuntu repositories. Most packages you have on Mint is coming from Ubuntu repositories.
Yeah, that's what makes it
when
weird.
They use PPAs, everything is the Launchpad. So they could simply set up their own Launchpad like system. The Launchpad is open source, and they have their own infrastructure, but that would cost money. That's the problem.
Well, if
I mean, in some respects, Mint just feels like Mint just feels like one of the like Ubuntu sort of things more than it does its own distro. Sometimes, like I mean, really, for the most part, I know there are some differences, but for the most part, the difference between Ubuntu and Mint is the desktop environment.
My only problem with this whole thing was, I don't mind them getting rid of snaps. It's your distro, do what you want with it. I think it's a little weird if you base off Ubuntu and start ripping all the best parts of Ubuntu off of it, though. Then why are you using Ubuntu? But hey, do what you want. But their explanation as far as, the snap store is proprietary. We don't know. We can't trust Canonical. Canonical will have root privileges on our system with snaps.
They already have
but you
whole packages.
But your deb packages you're getting from Canonical, do you trust them? If you trust them, then why don't you trust snaps? That makes no sense.
Yeah.
And even snaps are auditable.
Yeah.
Using the argument that you can't trust Canonical and then using all of their deb repositories,
not just that, they're using their infrastructure as a whole. Launchpad is controlled and made by Canonical. It was coded by Canonical. So, yeah.
Just from chat, honest question: does Canonical require you to support snaps in order to use its infrastructure?
No, not even close.
There's plenty of Ubuntu-based distributions that don't have snaps.
Yeah, and
a lot of them. Yeah,
most of the infrastructure isn't based on snaps.
Yeah,
Launchpad is a web service that is a service that gives you PPAs,
and the one package that's kind of causing the problems is the Chromium package, and people are like, well, it's just Canonical being sneaky. They want to force people to use this Chromium snap. That's not the case. Chromium updates all the time.
6 weeks major update.
Right. And if you don't have it as a snap package, which automatically updates, if you just ship a deb, then you're either going to have to just stick with this old version that could have some security vulnerabilities along the way with your LTS, which is supported for 2, 4, 5 years now, whatever, depending on what flavor of Ubuntu and what spinoff of Ubuntu you happen to run. And then you're going to just have all these. If you try to update it too, then you got to update all the dependencies for Chromium. It's just massive work for Canonical. But if you just have it as a snap, that solves the problem. And that's why they package it as a snap. And because otherwise you're going to have to maintain that package yourself. That's what the Mint guys would have to do. They would have to maintain a Chromium package themselves, but they're not going to do that. What they'll do is probably just direct people, hey, go get that from Google. We don't trust Canonical with your snap package, but would you please just go download that from Google? They're trustworthy.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, that's quite.
Yeah, that's weird. I know.
Hey, we don't trust Canonical. You should use Google instead.
Yes,
I mean, I know I can't exactly align with that. I have a Google Home on that shelf, and I've got a Pixel 3a, but. So the argument. Oh yeah, don't trust Canonical. Trust Google.
Hold on. We got to mute somebody. Got some. If you're not wearing earbuds, be sure to put in earbuds, or we're going to have some weird feedback because your speakers are going to bleed into your microphone, and we get a weird loop.
Well, another thing they said it was that the snaps cannot be audited, like you cannot see what's in there and all that. For example, check.
That's true if it's proprietary.
Yeah, but still, in many things you can still check.
Yeah.
How can you audit their packages especially they're proprietary or even
they're just an archive, aren't they? Their packages.
Yeah. And snap it as well.
I mean, you can examine the package format, but if what you're packaging is proprietary, if what you're packaging is closed source, you'll never be able to examine that source code.
And what they are probably examining is still the package itself, not the source code of that package. So that you can do that with Snap as well. Just download it and extract it with SquashFS and look inside it. The file system is all laid out for you.
Yeah.
DT can say how we were basically looking into the file system with the Snap when we were fixing that ST for the video.
Yeah. Pretty much every package format on Linux, it's just an archive. You can just open it with your archive manager and take a look at it. You can do the same thing with a deb pack or whatever.
I don't even know. I don't even know what NixOS uses. I think NixOS is basically just based on package install scripts.
Has its own package manager.
Yeah, I've been using that for about 2 weeks now. I think for the most part, because like NixPKG is on GitHub, it's not. There are no like built packages that are hosted. I think for the most part, unless it's because it's been cached, it's basically just a build script that they send you.
Yeah, somebody in the chat was asking about the Snap Store being proprietary because they want a centralized infrastructure. Well, that's the kind of the part that Canonical got right, and why snaps became kind of popular, more popular than Flatpaks, especially for a long time, is because they had that one place you could go grab snaps where Flatpak didn't have that. Now Flatpak, of course, has the FlatHub, but that was really created by like some third-party guy. It wasn't the Flatpak guys that created FlatHub. Somebody else created it and became very popular, and then everybody started going to the FlatHub. So Canonical got that right with the Snap Store. It being proprietary is unfortunate. They'll probably open source it eventually. They claim, it doesn't serve.
Once they get enough backlash.
Well, they got a lot of backlash for other things that they had proprietary. So
it's cool to hate Canonical. That's first of all. Second of all,
their argument here
only
is,
cool kids hate Canonical.
Well, their argument here is Launchpad. Forever, Launchpad, the back end to Launchpad was proprietary, and everybody complained, hey, we're not ever going to use Launchpad until you open source it. So they open sourced it, and nobody still used it. And they did all this work to open source it, and they saw no adoption at all. Basically, the only people that use Launchpad still are Canonical and various related people around Canonical. So. But that problem is a little disingenuous too, because in the early days of Launchpad, they didn't use Git. They used Bazaar, and everybody uses Git. So now, of course, you can use Git on Launchpad, I believe. So,
but
I was talking with RWX Rob on Twitch a week ago or so, and we were talking about how a lot of the like open source alternatives, like they require a lot of messing around to get working properly, and so long as the alternative you're trying to get people to use is harder to use than what it's trying to replace, it's never going to be adopted.
Is this the tech lead video where Linux is only free if you don't value your time? Is this where we're going with
no. This was just because he was talking about using, because he uses Lynx as his browser, but he was saying how he admits that most people are never going to touch Lynx because it's not, it doesn't work for them.
Yeah.
Well, it won't work on Facebook.
Unless
if all you do is hang out on Facebook and YouTube, then it won't work. If you're reading the Arch Wiki, or you're reading Wikipedia, something that's text-based anyway, for the most part, it's just as good as anything else. It depends on what you use it for.
We just sort of got onto the point that, like, unless the tool that you're trying to replace another tool with is either as easy or easier to use than it, that didn't make any sense. If the tool GPG, this isn't trying to replace something, but GPG or PGP, for example, PGP is so difficult to set up for most people because it requires a lot of console knowledge and command line knowledge. It never got adopted by the masses because it was so difficult to use. Whereas something like Chromium has risen to the top of the web browser market because it is so easy to use. You install it, it works. Most people, while they have grown up in a time where there is technology everywhere, they're still not particularly tech literate.
Right. I mean, you
Yeah.
make a good point with something like GPG. So many of us use it. You know, it's kind of a standard in Linux, but at the same time, most desktop computer users would never use any kind of encryption anyway. They would never know how to set it up. They would never open the terminal anyway, because you got to run commands
No.
in the terminal to get keys and everything. And
Yeah.
you know, that's
Yeah, and as long as that is the case, it will never be adopted by the masses. That's just how, unfortunately, it sits.
yeah.
Well, most people do what I always say. They use the tool that best works for the job, and
Yeah.
many times the best tool is the fastest tool. The one you need to learn less and deal with it less.
Yeah. You really shouldn't be trying to encrypt things like your emails and stuff anyway, because we need to make sure that the NSA and the CIA and everybody can read your emails, because there's been some legislation introduced recently
Well,
that they want to be.
technically, all emails are encrypted when in transit.
Uh,
They're all encrypted, and funny enough, for example, Gmail, all it is actually has official encryption on the emails. Of course, trusting Google is one thing, but officially they're supposed to be secured
But
when in transit.
unfortunately, if you're using Google's servers for your email, you have
Yeah.
to trust them. Unfortunately, you got to trust
Yeah.
somebody.
At the end of it all, you have to trust somebody,
Yeah.
if no one else, yourself.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, people that talk about, do you trust your Linux distribution, you know, with the software they're serving from their central repositories. Well, if you don't, you shouldn't be using that distribution, right? You should be using
Yeah.
something, right?
So
Just-
if
Let me just install this distro that spies on me. I'm sure it'll be fine.
right. Now, people do. It's called Chrome OS. That's
Doesn't
right.
Clear Linux also like use a lot of telemetry in it?
Do they? I haven't tried
the
Clear
Clear
Linux.
Linux, I have installed it, and in the installer, it asks you if you want to send telemetry.
Yeah.
And how much you want to trust it, that's the other thing. So
Yeah, well,
how
I mean,
much
as
you
long as
trust
they're
it,
upfront
actually
about it.
disable it.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's different when they ask, "Hey, can we get some information about you?" I'm more concerned about the things like you know, Windows that's getting information about you, and they won't even tell
Ironically,
you what they
they
get.
ask as well. They ask
Do they?
as well, and
Did they tell
there
you?
is-
But they don't
Yeah.
tell you exactly what they get, though, do they?
I believe there are even posts
There-
from Microsoft that they tell what kind of information they get from you, and
Yeah, there
of
are
course
there are
depending on
pages
what
for
you
this.
what you tell them.
Because unless you
And
can
for
read that
example-
report, if you can't read the report of the
Yeah.
information, yeah, how do you know what they really got? You know?
Example, Visual Studio Code, actually you actually can see exactly what data you send to them if you have telemetry enabled, which is just basically one click to disable.
And if you still don't trust Microsoft with that, you can use something like VS Codium, which is just
Or-
VS Code without all
Or
of
you
the
can just
Microsoft stuff.
compile VS Code yourself and see
That-
what's inside. Because
I think that still has some basic telemetry. VS Codium is
believe
like
real
ripped out.
basic, like
Yeah,
what do you, so basically they can prioritize what to do, what happens, all that, basically bug tracking and all that, which is in my opinion completely okay and is good for UX anyway. So
someone in chat mentioned while we were talking about tools being easy to use. They said, "What about GUI for GPG?"
I've never
That's
used a GUI tool.
fine.
Yeah.
That's if you're on Windows, it's basically the only way to go
Yeah.
unless you install something like WSL. That's all well and good, but you still got to know how to sign your emails. You've still got to send a key and just hope that someone on the other end also has the GPG software to verify the signature and all that sort of thing. It's just really not worth it unless you're already talking to people.
Yeah, that's one
that
thing
have
I've never
that
used.
software.
I've never used GPG for an email. That's never made sense to
No.
me, because if it's just a one-off email that you're really worried about, maybe. But the people that think they're going to encrypt every email with GPG, no, that's so much of a hassle, because you're going to have to.
Richard Stallman.
Well, he's a special case. Because you got to worry about the
Well-
keys. You got to worry about the person on the other end having the key. It just for every single email. It's not like you set it up one time and you're done.
Well, honest question. In case you really want an encrypted connection, do you still use email? All of you? Because personally, I do like to switch to Messenger different applications.
I
Instead of-
used to have to do a lot of email, but recently the company I've been working for has switched to using Microsoft Teams. It's not much better, obviously, because it's still Microsoft Teams, but it's not email either. So,
So you're
I
not.
think the only stuff I get emails for now are like automated GitLab messages and notifications about calendar events.
I would think most companies would use Outlook anyway. They'd
Yeah.
probably, yeah.
Most companies as a client use Outlook because it comes with Office
OneDrive.
Suite, so
It comes with the whole thing. Office 365. It's all bundled, right?
Yeah,
basically,
it's something really cheap, like £6.40 a user or something per month.
I
Like
believe
that's including the Office apps per user as
basically
well.
you get Office clients which are installable on systems. So you get I don't know, storage, a bunch of things for like €6 a month, and for companies that rely on such software, it's great.
Alex the Fox again in chat is saying, "What's the best email server you can recommend?"
I have no
That's
idea. On
Email
that.
server as
That's not really a. I don't think
I'm
that's really.
assuming he's talking about
No,
like an
for
email
email?
provider. Probably, he's
Yeah.
wondering about privacy or things like that. Maybe he's asking about something like Proton Mail. I don't know. I've never used
I think-
any of those services.
I mean, if you're
I think-
interested in security, you want to use Proton Mail. Otherwise, if you're looking to self-host email, I don't recommend
No,
doing
no,
that. unless
that's
you
a bad
really
idea.
have
because
to.
you can
Don't
get DNS
self-host.
blocked.
And people keep asking me about that. They know, hey, I know I can just set up a Linux box as an email server. Have you ever done it? Would you recommend doing it? For one thing, I have played with that stuff. It is extremely difficult to set up an email server. And then even once you get it set up, you have to worry about all the encryption and all the security on that machine.
security.
And you are not qualified for that. I can just tell you right now. Trust Proton Mail, trust Gmail even with your security more than trust yourself.
Yeah.
Because
I
otherwise,
mean,
somebody's going to
you've
get
got
you.
to you've got to
trust
set up
someone.
like
Yeah.
you've got to set up like DKIM and everything like that just to minimize the risk of you getting domain blocked as well, and that's not even a guarantee.
Oh yeah,
And even then, the whole problem that many of the what are called clients for and providers for website emails they will most of the domain they will even put into the do the spam automatically if they aren't in certain ways verified.
they're going to take over your machine, and you are going to be putting out millions and millions of spam emails a month from a .ru domain. Trust me, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't set
No.
up
You can't go .ru. You got to go .tk. Obviously.
Yeah.
Go for the free stuff, mate.
Yeah, I mean, for educational
I think
purposes, setting up an email server is kind of neat, but should you ever run one? Absolutely not. It's a horrible
And
idea.
even for educational purposes, you're gonna pull your hair out.
Yes.
Now, if you're not looking to use like your email address for like transmitting through the internet, it's actually worthwhile to set up an email server for like your own home network.
Well, if you're doing
That
local,
way,
that's
true.
Yeah.
That is true.
It's worthwhile
I think
doing that.
I
That
have-
way you can get like messages from like your various home automation devices, like say success failures, or even just like getting getting your system D logs message sent from your home basement server to.
But for that, you could set up
like
a chat system to do the same. So
yeah, exactly.
Not-
It's just as easy to
easier.
implement like a tiny little Node.js server with like
Yeah.
webhooks to deal with that for
Or-
you.
Well, it just depends on which route you actually want to go, because like if you set up the email server, that sets you up for learning stuff later in life rather than just setting up like a Node.js server. Which yes, it is more convenient just
Yeah.
to do that. but you can learn more by setting up the email server, because who knows? Maybe one of these
Yeah,
days you
you
might
can-
actually want to get a job where you manage an email server.
I feel like that sort of thing, chances are you probably already know what you're doing in that sort of field.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have to have some serious knowledge probably already
Mm.
to be hired for something like that. Because a company would be trusting you, with their lives, basically.
With
to
a lot.
set up-
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
With its whole digital infrastructure
Right.
by that point.
Yeah.
Because you
Like
could,
I have
you could
I
screw
have
them
one
up so bad.
self-hosted. Yeah, I have one self-hosted email server that I use, but that's only because I self-host a GitLab instance and a couple of other things, and obviously they send email notifications.
Yeah.
But I use G Suite, and it's like another £4.50 a month to get another user, so I don't bother.
I have my
I
own.
self-host and I just add a whitelist for G Suite to accept emails from that domain.
I
I
have
think that's
my
what I
own.
do too. I also use the G Suite.
Mm. It makes it so easy as
Yeah.
well because everywhere integrates with Google. I want to
Unfortunately.
try Figma, sign in with Google. I want to try Microsoft, sign in with Google.
And that's another one that people ask me all the time. Like, why don't you set up your own Git server? Why don't you set up your own GitLab? And it's like, well, you know what? I trust the real GitLab more than me setting up, my own GitLab server and hosting it. It's like, what would be the point of me? I mean, just setting it up, I
Yeah.
guess, would be fun, but I would rather
can
trust
be
the
quite-
professionals with that.
It can be quite difficult as well because its Let's Encrypt implementation isn't. It doesn't always work.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it won't give you the prompt to add the DNS records that you need or things like that. So it can be quite tricky to set up a self-hosted GitLab instance.
I have a self-hosted GitLab instance for my network that doesn't even talk to outside. That's pretty easy to set up. Just run a Docker container, and then I set
Yeah.
up.
I was going to suggest the same thing. GitLab is so popular, you can find
Yeah.
web hosts now that will just set up a GitLab server for you if you really want it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
But
See,
if you wanna,
it's the opposite. It's the opposite of the company that I work for. We're actually we're looking at transitioning away from our own self-hosted GitLab to GitHub,
Mhm.
which is like the opposite direction of what's normally done.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's weird. Why are they
Yeah,
moving to
I mean, it
GitLab?
would make sense for a company to do it because then the company doesn't need to worry about the uptime on the Git server.
yeah,
At the moment, like I don't mind it, but like I'm the one essentially that maintains the actual GitLab, like the server that it's hosted on. Now, I mean, obviously, it doesn't take up much time to update the server, but they also have me monitor the update process, which obviously takes away from what I can actually spend writing software. And obviously, switching something like Google, oh, not Google, so GitHub, that's all gone. And they also don't have to worry about SSL certificates or DNS references internally not updating because it's all public anyway.
Yeah.
and you just lost your job.
I'm sure he's going to convince them to stay with GitLab. Just tell them the UI is more modern looking. GitHub is just dated. It really is.
No,
Well, not
GitHub,
anymore.
GitHub has actually just updated their UI.
Yeah,
Really?
I quite like it.
Microsoft did a good job on it.
They spent some
I mean,
money.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's nice.
basically.
That's a,
I
never
love
even-
I love how when Microsoft acquired GitHub, everyone was like, "Jump ship! It's Microsoft!" And GitLab had notifications up like, "Are you coming from GitHub?" and all this sort of thing. And now everyone's like, "Huh, it's all right."
Microsoft did a good job with GitHub. They
Yeah,
everything from the sponsor system for open source projects
Mm.
to the new UI. And funny thing is that if Microsoft or potentially some other company wouldn't buy it, GitHub would be gone. There wasn't enough money in it, and
well,
they were selling it as a last-ditch effort. And
Yeah.
in my opinion, by the price that they were sold, there are really just 4 companies in the world that would be willing to buy it. And I do think Microsoft is the lesser evil of those four.
We know the company that would have bought it.
I do think they,
Amazon would have bought it.
Yeah, Amazon.
Right.
And there are two other companies we all know that would
I like
potentially
that
want to
there.
buy it.
I don't think Google
I
wanted
like
it.
that there.
And Google is one of the potential
Yeah,
companies.
I think Amazon would have wanted
Other
it.
one.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I don't think GitHub has a whole lot of patents for Google to really care about, so Google probably
Yeah.
wouldn't buy GitHub because GitHub doesn't really bring anything other than
Right.
GitHub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Google already
It's
has
more the
enough
name
services
than
to lose
anything
the
else
money.
that Google would be interested in. And even then, they'd probably just use it as an excuse to revive Google Code and kill off GitHub.
Yeah.
Well,
Like
it's
they did
still,
with Inbox, and like it seems like they're in the process of doing with Waze.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, the great thing about Microsoft buying GitHub is that we saw so many real competitors now spring up because of the purchase, because so many people started looking for alternatives where before everybody was on GitHub. And now people are
Yeah.
checking out GitLab and GitT and all these other places. So.
I think that has calmed down now though, because obviously everyone's realized, oh, they're doing all right with it. But I think in the beginning there was obviously that massive panic, like, oh god, Microsoft own it, you know.
I tell you what, the
Microsoft is scary.
GitLab guys made a bucket load of money because of that.
Yeah.
Their servers melted down for weeks after that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, now that GitHub owns NPM, that's
Oh.
even better.
Yeah, I'm so
Yeah,
excited
I mean,
about that. Now I can get all my
There's-
Electron apps directly from Microsoft. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, Microsoft makes one of the best Electron apps.
Jitsi? No, Atom.
No, VS Code.
VS Code.
Ironically,
You
Well, actually,
named
Adam
the
too.
two programs that they don't make.
Ironically-
technically, Atom is their program. They didn't make it. but-
Ironically, Adam is
Since
their
but since GitHub was taken over by Microsoft,
Yeah.
surely Atom is basically deprecated at this point. It's VS Code or nothing.
Not really.
They claim to.
Wha-
They're going to maintain both. That's
Yeah.
what they claim.
What is
Yeah.
most ironic?
Maintain and develop are two different
Yeah.
terms that could be used there.
Well,
Well,
They
isn't Atom
all-
like open source?
It is.
So
Yeah.
wouldn't
Both-
it
both
be
are
more
open
community
source.
maintained?
Both are open source. Well, yeah, it will
Right.
be, but this is from the standpoint of
You could always
them
fork
doing
it.
it themselves.
Somebody would fork Atom and just keep going with it, and maybe
Yeah, I mean,
make
it's
it Electron.
there's no doubt about the fact that Atom is more lightweight than VS Code. That's just
well,
given.
irony is that Electron was made specifically for Atom, and the software is really crappy. It doesn't work very well as Electron app. Then come VS Code from Microsoft. Basically, same program.
It's like
Even
the
before-
golden. It's like the
even before-
golden example of how to use Electron.
It was made a lot better by the people who didn't have anything to do with Electron. Great.
Atom is so slow when it first opens. I mean, it makes Emacs look really, really fast. That's how big and slow and bloated Atom is. You know, it makes Emacs look slim and lightweight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just when you make a cron job just to have Atom start at system boot. That way you never have to worry about it because technically nobody really shuts down their computer anymore, right?
Well, what
They
you
should
should
create
do,
an Atom daemon like
Right,
they have with
exactly.
Emacs.
yeah, you should just have it running in the background all the time. That solves the problem.
Yeah. There was one thing because I have Lcord installed on my Emacs for when I use it. But when I used to use Emacs as my main editor, obviously I had it running in daemon mode. So on Discord, there were just all the time I kept getting comments like, "How can you write code for that long?" Because the time elapsed on it running was like 17 hours or something like that.
Well, I watch YouTube videos of people using Emacs, like professional programmers, and they've been in Emacs so long and haven't rebooted their machine, haven't killed Emacs. When they open up their buffer list, you'll see guys that have 500 buffers in their buffer list. That's like, what the hell are you doing? Has your computer not crashed? But apparently Emacs can handle all those buffers, and it doesn't slow the machine down. Or at least they claim.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know.
Well, you
I
just
think
throw more
I
RAM
think it just
while it's
caches
running.
them.
Yeah.
I think
Probably.
it just caches them and leaves it as that.
But you can just throw hot swap RAM in, so you have more RAM,
But
or
kind
download it from internet.
yeah. I guess it's just because I
I
don't
wonder. I
understand.
wonder if that allows you to have like labeled RAM sticks. Like this one has these buffers. This one has these buffers.
But it's kind of like those people that open up 50 tabs in their browser. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with all those
And
buffers in your
good
text.
flash.
And it's like
If they use Chrome, no, they don't.
you don't even know what's open though. You have no idea what is running on your machine. You don't know.
No,
what,
you just see like a line of icons at the top of your browser. It's fine.
And many people just look at the icons
Yeah.
and know what they have. And like, let's say first five of those tabs is what they will always have open, like their mail, if they have a web mail, for example, YouTube, couple of stuff, they always have open. And then 50 tabs of everything they work on.
Yeah, but it's just weird because it's like, you know what? I got this one thing open. I may need to come back to it next week, so I'll just leave it open.
Yeah. Or when you go
Why not?
to research,
Uh-huh.
you go on Google and start. I want to open this, and you just go down the list and next page, open everything, and you go a couple of pages in, and you have 50 tabs open like that.
Yeah. It's always bad because I keep getting emails from like Medium and Dev and all that sort of thing. Like, here,
Yeah.
these are some articles that you might like, and I open them and then I look at the top of my window. I'm like, I have like 25 tabs open. I'm not going to read all of these.
Somebody was asking me about my awesome window manager configs. I guess they pulled down my config for my GitLab, and they were wondering if I had any more configs to look at other than just that one. No, that's just the one. I just maintain configs that I use. I don't have like any example configs or anything. It's every
It
window
could-
manager is
how-
just one config. It's the one I use. So
It could
Are
just
you-
be
are
that
you
the config
still-
for awesome is so awesome that there is no need for an example. Because it is the awesome window manager after all.
well, my configs are quite bloated. There's a lot in those configs, but you know, people are wanting more.
That is totally not
examples.
awesome.
Yeah. But the awesome window manager guys are going to have an archive somewhere of example configs. Go check that out.
Yeah.
They'll probably have an archive somewhere where you can go check out, 10, 15, 20 configs and see what
I'm
different
curious.
people do.
Did you? I'm curious. Did you like? Are you still using Xmonad, or have you switched for the time being to EXWM?
I logged into Xmonad to do this. I almost launched this in EXWM. I was in EXWM.
Okay.
Since making the video yesterday, yeah, I've been in Emacs, in EXWM, and it works. And I could have launched OBS and everything, but I don't know Jitsi. I installed this morning, and I was like, I may have some problems with it. And then I'm going to be fumbling with the window manager I don't know how to use, too. I was like, let me just log into something I know how to use in case there's problems.
So how are you dealing with the single-threaded stuff? Because obviously Emacs isn't multi-threaded, so if one window crashes, your window manager's frozen.
There's nothing you can do about that. It's kind of like when most people use Emacs anyway. They use the daemon and they use the Emacs client. And if one Emacs goes down, all of them go down. It's going to be the same thing with the window manager. If you ever have a freeze or a crash, your whole session is toast. So there's nothing you can do about it. There's no. I guess could you launch another instance of Emacs separate from the one that's actually your window?
What inside EXWM?
I'm thinking about it. I know it sounds crazy, but
I don't see why you wouldn't be able to.
yeah.
It's just open Emacs in Emacs in Emacs. It'll be fine.
I mean, I've opened GNOME inside GNOME before.
You just don't go 4 levels down because then that's Inception. So
It should be possible to open Emacs inside your system.
but you got the one thread, of course, EXWM and everything. I wonder if you could have 2 different ones running, just in case.
Did you see the comment on the video you put out saying, "Hey, now you just need to replace Emacs, your kernel with Emacs"?
Yeah, unfortunately, there isn't a kernel for Emacs. Well, there is. It's called the Linux kernel.
Oh, I bet there is. I bet there is.
I bet there is. I bet they use Hurd.
The Hurd kernel, right?
And then you can just go Hurd yourself.
No, Richard Stallman and the GNU guys gave up on Hurd decades ago. I mean, people are still
Technically,
working
it's
on
still
it,
in development.
But they're not
but-
really
People are still working on it, but those people are also like 5 people strong.
right.
I'm sourcing hardware so I can actually test out like the Hurd kernel one of these days.
I'm sure it would work on some things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm
on
imagining
some
it-
things.
it-
like
it would-
Core 2
It would
system,
boot
maybe.
Emacs. What more do you need?
Well, that would be the ideal situation. Obviously, if you wanted to do something really graphically intensive, I mean, it's probably not going to have drivers for
you'd
your
be
graphics card. Like, it's not going to.
You'd be running a glorified Lisp interpreter. That's what you'd be running.
Yeah.
Basically.
Would you be able to get a Wi-Fi driver for a laptop using the Hurd kernel? I don't know.
God, I don't even know.
I don't know. I bet you would run into some problems.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Get somebody.
Can
trying to
you
get that
3D model in Emacs?
You probably could, actually. When I was just researching weird plugins for Emacs a couple of months back, I told you guys I came across somebody created a video editor plugin for Emacs so they could edit videos in
Yes.
Emacs.
Oh my god.
Well, at the
And I would like to give that guy a slap on the face.
well, at the end of the day, you know,
Stop enabling them. Like
Emacs, of course, people think it's a text editor, people that don't know better, but Emacs really is this computer environment, this programming environment where whatever you code it to do, whatever you program it to do, that's what it's going to do. If you program it to be a video editor, it's going to be a video editor. So
yeah.
it just depends on whether you
What
know
kind-
eLisp or not.
What can't you do in Emacs?
Edit a rich text file. Because Emacs still does not have a good text editor.
Oh,
No.
Yeah.
No, you need to write Markdown.
Markdown, you don't org mode, just everything in org.
I started writing everything in org, and then I realized, this isn't supported on like a lot of the things I use, so I'm not going to do this.
It's starting to be supported in a lot of places. You see a lot of places.
I know you can write org file like org mode documents on GitHub. Like you can write readmes in org mode on GitHub now. I don't know if it's the same on GitLab,
Yep.
but
I haven't
you can
tried
write
it with
wikis
GitLab.
on GitLab though.
But yeah, anything you write in org and you push to GitHub and probably GitLab too. I'd be shocked if they didn't support it by now. Yeah, it renders it just fine.
Alex the Fox in chat has just said you should use Vim inside EXWM.
That would be possible. You have to launch a terminal inside Emacs. Vim inside a terminal inside Emacs. You could probably get away
Just
with
use
it.
ESH, it'll be fine.
Yeah. And people have asked, well, if Emacs can be a window manager, can Vim be a window manager? Not really, because Vim has to run in a terminal.
No.
You would have to use something like gvim as a window manager, and that would be like the most painful experience
Ooh.
ever.
Yeah.
Technically, any program can be a window
What if you
manager.
just do something like, say, an open box and just put in your auto start file, just like put gvim in there, just launch it full screen, and there you go.
And just pin it full screen and
Yeah.
never allow that window to move. Yeah. that could work. Yeah, years ago, I used to play with weird stuff like that, where I would pin a terminal to the background, like in the wallpaper. I'd make it transparent, where the only thing you'd see is the terminal text. That way, if I hit all the windows on the screen, still running on the screen would be a terminal kind of stuck into the wallpaper.
Well,
I don't do that kind of weird stuff anymore. It's kind of like back in the day, people thought wobbly windows was cool and drawing fire on the screen was cool.
Hey, now, I still use that stuff.
hey now, yesterday we had a conversation on Beetle about wobbling windows, and I was just like, what? Why would you use that?
Man, that stuff was so popular, 12 years ago or whatever. When people, if you didn't have wobbly windows in your distribution, people wouldn't use it.
What's Instant OS? I've seen a few people in chat talking about it.
That is a Arch-based Linux distribution that uses its own window manager called Instant Window Manager. It's a tiling window manager that's got some weird graphical effects, some animations. And when you open up windows, they slide around. And
problems.
So it's Arch with i3 and PyCom.
No, it's a little more involved than i3 and PyCom, but yeah, it's
like a fork of DWM for the window manager.
Yeah, it's a fork of DWM that's got some animations to it.
DT, I would like to report that yes, something was wrong on your machine, because when I was testing Instant OS on my system, it ran perfectly. No slow problems.
It ran fine for me in VirtualBox when I tried it in VirtualBox. It did not run fine in Virt Manager.
No,
I ran it in Virt Manager. It runs really well on Virt Manager for me. I might have some things done differently, or
that's going to be a setting. Probably the graphics driver.
Do you have the KVM module enabled, DT?
Surely I do.
He has to have KVM enabled to use
otherwise,
I
wouldn't.
If he's using Qemu, if he's using Qemu, he's got to have KVM.
You wouldn't be able to use it
if
otherwise.
You have, technically, you still can, because Qemu itself is an emulator. But if you can use VirtualBox at the same time as KVM, then you don't have KVM. If you use VirtualBox at the same time as Qemu, then you don't have KVM enabled, because once you have KVM enabled, VirtualBox doesn't work.
I thought VirtualBox had KVM modules.
You can enable that, but that's some work to do. I couldn't get it running up until now. Unless they got it running in the latest versions, then yeah.
What about 3D window managers, says Physicus?
No, he's talking about the old.
Like the most popular one, ain't it?
Who?
Kwin?
Kwin, yeah. Kwin is probably the one that's got the most whiz-bang effects to it now. It's got a lot of the old Compiz kind of effects. They built them into KDE, trying to keep up with Compiz. So you can get the wobbly windows and everything, the cube, the spinning cube, and I think you can get all that in Plasma.
Okay, apparently Alex the Fox launches all of his VMs from the terminal because he doesn't know how to use Virt Manager.
I mean, I don't know how to use GitHub, so I just use the Git command, so I don't see a problem with it.
Virt Manager is just a front end to QEMU. So I mean,
I know, but it just kind of seems odd to me that you would know how to use the complicated QEMU.
Commands,
but not
Virt Manager. He's probably using Virt.sh, not QEMU. He's probably using Virt.sh, so Virt Manager is a front end to Virt.sh.
Right.
Which is, I believe, made by Red Hat.
And depending on what you do for a living, if you play with a lot of QEMU virtual machines anyway on servers, if you're used to using it at a command line, then yeah, why not?
Actually, I think Virt Manager was actually deprecated.
I believe deprecated by who?
Yeah, by
it's just a front end to
by the creators, by Red Hat.
Have they built a replacement?
Because they have everything in their cockpit web console now, even though that is like about 10% of what.
Oh, I thought that particular statement that they wanted people to move away from Virt Manager was that for CentOS? I'd have to read that again, but I don't think Virt Manager is going away. They just were telling people that were using it for specific things.
Virt Manager is officially EOL, as far as I see. As far as I see now, Virt Manager is officially EOL. That means end of life.
But it's open source. Somebody will fork it and keep it going.
Yeah,
they'll rename it. It'll be some funny
cockpit name. is really bad for that.
I mean, I kind of dropped the Virt Manager for GNOME boxes these days because it just works.
Yeah, it's a very similar program. It's just a front end to.
If I wanted a web-based control for my virtual machines, I would probably install by default something like Proxmox. Yeah, and then install a UI on top of it. Easy.
If you've got a bit of money, Unraid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's
Even
Slack.
then, probably
That's
still goes
Slackware.
Proxmox.
That's Slackware, and Proxmox is Debian. So
Yeah,
which is better?
but that's too
your
much
choice.
work. Just go with VirtualBox. Just make things easy. Just install
And
VirtualBox.
it's
Wow.
In it tucks in
Proxmox
chat,
is
Vet Manager
great,
is still
it's
available
really
on
easy.
CentOS 8. It will still be available, but EOL means that it's not being maintained by the
by the
by the
official
developers
maintainers.
anymore. It's like not PHP, Python 2 is
Python 2,
now
yeah.
EOL, but you can still get that as easily as you can any other Python.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just very briefly, there's a guy in the chat asking about my Xmonad config, and he's getting a bunch of errors because of the Xmobar config. Obviously, everything works in my configs, otherwise I wouldn't be using it. So if you're getting errors, what that's probably going to be is my Xmobar config calls upon a bunch of shell scripts that you don't have on your system, or if you do have on your system, make sure they are placed in .local/bin, and make sure that you have .local/bin as part of your path. You don't have any idea what that means? DuckDuckGo. All right. or email me or message me later, and I'll try to type it out exactly what you need. Or open an issue on GitLab. I'll try to help you out later this evening when I have some time. But they work. You just need to place those scripts that Xmobar is trying to use somewhere that's in your path, and make sure your Xmobar config actually has them. You know, the full path to them if you need, or just the single name if you have everything in your path.
Okay, it looks like my neighbors have a gas-powered lawnmower.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm about to do. As soon as we get done here, I have got to start mowing. And it's going to take
I
me...
thankfully did on Friday, so
It
yeah.
takes me about an hour and a half to 2 hours to get...
It takes me
We
6
on-
hours to mow
We
my
only
yard.
moved in. We only moved into this house like the other week, and they mowed the lawn for us before we moved in. So ours isn't really needing of a cut yet.
And somebody's asking, hey, can I make a video as far as tips for Xrender? Xrender's pretty straightforward. Like, I don't know what I would do on camera. You run Xrender, and you get a list of all your displays and possible outputs for it. And if you want to
Yeah.
set that, Xrender space -s,
Yeah.
and then the
And
resolution.
if you need a GUI, just run arender.
Yeah.
Install arender
Yeah.
and run that.
AR and R, yeah, for a GUI front end. If you need to, set up your monitors, if you're on a multi-monitor system, it's a visual display where you just drag them in the right order and you click save, and you're done.
I've got to say, I think after having had to use Wayland for a little bit on a PC that I used, that has its own like built-in monitor control thing. That was very easy to work with. Although that's probably also because I was using GNOME, but
Yeah, but that is, with Wayland, you kind of have to qualify if you're in GNOME or if you're in anything else, because
yeah,
a
because
lot of
GNOME
things
has
work
like
in GNOME.
first-class support for Wayland.
Right. Well, the same guys working on Wayland are working on GNOME and working on systemd, so all three are kind of wrapped up in one.
I think the only two like good Wayland sort of desktop environment struck window managers are Sway and GNOME at the moment.
Wayland. I believe KD works on Wayland.
Yeah,
KDE works on
works
Wayland, but
and-
it's still pretty buggy and unstable.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
I was
there's actually
gonna-
an open box fork that actually works pretty well on
Yeah,
Wayland.
there's going to be a
I was
Waybox.
going to say this.
Waybox.
I was going to say, works and works well are two different
Yeah.
things.
And even GNOME doesn't work well on Wayland if you're really truthful.
The Haskell guys are working on
Well,
Waybonet.
I think the only thing that were the only things that were actually an issue for me when I was using Wayland is that I couldn't share my screen. Other than that, everything just worked out the box with GNOME. At
Well,
least.
For
There's
me,
already a pull request
starting
in
is a
Wayland to
problem.
fix the screen sharing, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there are some applications that can do it. I think some Chromium-based apps can already do it, but I'm not sure on that.
Yeah,
It's because the processes need to be elevated to do it, or something like that. Something to that sort of degree.
yeah. The guys that are ported i3 over to Sway are also helping the Xmonad guys get Waymonad up and working.
That's
Nice.
cool. That's cool. Will it just basically be plug and play with existing Xmonad configs then?
Well, it's so weird with Xmonad because
Hopefully.
obviously the name Xmonad, it
Yeah.
was designed everything around Xorg and all the X tools, and then porting it to this new display server is probably going to be a nightmare.
I think one pain point with Wayland is the fact that you can't have independent compositors or like hotkey daemons, so those have to be built into the environment.
Well,
Xmonad is going to have to ship with a compositor if anyone wants like transparency and things in their windows.
well, that's why Canonical is developing Mirror, so people can just hook it in and that's it.
Yeah,
Well,
I guess that would solve the problem.
Yeah, they
That's what they
changed
were
their
using
own.
on the phone. So
They changed their own version, basically their own alternative to X, into a compositor for Wayland. Yeah.
Fair enough. I know that like hotkey daemons are still going to have to be built in though. That's a pain point. Not for Xmonad because obviously it's got its own one, but like if anyone wants to port something like BSPWM, they're going to have a hard time because you can't create something like SXHKD because it couldn't run on Wayland.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, Wayland, the client clients can't listen for all keyboard events or something like that unless they're the host client.
Seriously?
It's something technical like that, yeah. So you couldn't just run a hotkey daemon on Wayland; it would have to be built into the DE.
Great. Or at least D telling that daemon what to do.
No, you can't. It wouldn't be able to be a separate client in any way. That's just how
Well,
Wayland is built.
Technically, it could be if the D itself would know about that daemon and tell it what is happening. But that would require a lot of
Possibly,
code.
yeah.
That would work.
Yeah. From that perspective, yeah, that would work.
That
But it
if
would,
D would be
the
just
amount of
middle
work that would be needed to pipe those through would probably outweigh the benefits of just building in your own.
Well,
hotkey
maybe
daemon.
not if the hotkey daemon would be like a standard. Everybody would use the same one. You would just have like an API type of style thing. So then you just hook into the API. That's it. But
you're never going to get a standard. I mean,
Yeah.
No, this is Linux we're talking about. There's always going to be like
Standard.
50 alternatives to the same problem.
Yeah.
The
But if
only
they
way
use
we
the
would
same
be able to-
API, it
The
would be
only way
great.
we'd be able to get anything close to a standard would be if somebody baked it into System D because just about every other distro is using System D nowadays.
System D
Actually,
comes
that
with its own
would work.
manager.
Actually, that would work.
It-
A hotkey. It would
I
work.
would just call it Hotkey D.
Actually, that would work.
Hotkey D.
Because
That's funny.
I think hotkey daemon would work
Oh.
if it was
System D
in System D.
HKD.
System
I think it
HK.
would actually work.
Yeah.
It actually works.
HKCTL.
Well, somebody should message Lenart Pottering and let him know about this idea.
Well, technically, the people who are connected to the System D are also connected to the Wayland, since
Yeah.
System D and Wayland are both connected to Red Hat. So technically, they can get that working really easy.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's like some there's like some repo of like unfinished System D modules where that's already a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Some
could be.
like really obscure fork where someone's already had the idea, like, "Ooh, I should put a hotkey daemon."
Oh
in,
no, I'm
in
not talking
System
about like
D.
a fork. I'm talking about like in the actual System D project. We just don't see it yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
possibly.
Well, I'm sure they have a development branch you could go check out and see all the merge requests, of things people are trying to add. So,
Is it developed on GitLab?
I'm not sure where
I
Systemd
don't
has their code.
know.
Yeah. Can you imagine trying to read the source code for Systemd? I mean, it's over.
Don't
a million
even
lines.
try.
Unless you've been developing it for like 15 years already, I don't
Just
think anyone
like
can be able
kernel,
to read
don't
that
even
monolithic
try.
piece of crap.
Don't even try. Just like
It's
kernel.
probably much easier to read systemd source code than it is to read Windows source code, though.
It's
Yeah.
probably much easier to read systemd
No.
source code than it is to read X source code. So
No.
you know,
Probably.
Actually, reading code isn't a problem.
Understanding it.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I can write some like personal project in TypeScript and then leave it for 4 months, come back to it and go like, what?
Yeah, basically, that's what every programmer does.
Mm.
I tell you,
Why did I type it here? I understand. What an idiot I was.
Yeah, why
and
did
then,
I ever
and then
do
you
that?
go and rewrite everything again.
one of the great things
Yep.
about using minimal programs, it's like these minimal window managers. You know, people think bloat and minimal is kind of a meme. Well, the great thing about minimal stuff, if you go and check out DWM, for example, you can read the entire DWM source code in less than an hour. If you know some
Yeah.
C, you might could even understand some of it. Haskell's written in less than 5,000. All right, Xmonad's written in less than 5,000 lines of Haskell. If you knew Haskell, you could go read all the source code. Like pretty quickly, you could understand what that program's doing. You can't go and read something
Yes,
like
and
the
then
source
go
code.
find all the modules that make it useful and try and read those and fail miserably.
But you know, most of those modules are just people like you and me that contributed them, and you can read the source code for that. Some of those modules aren't 10 lines long. You know, it's just simple scripts somebody threw together, written in Haskell, and then they did a merge request, and they accepted it.
Haskell is written in less than 5,000 lines of
Haskell.
Xmonad.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I don't see code anymore. All I see is blonde, brunette, and redhead. Well played.
Oh, nice. Did you like the woman in the red dress?
She was hot. Let's see. I'm not going to lie. The only reason I'm using Wayland is because I wanted to get hardware acceleration working on Firefox.
You mean that's not a thing already?
I was about to say
I didn't
that's
know.
strange.
I followed
I've
this
never-
on X,
yeah, I've
believe it
Pop
is,
open my.
especially since I have an NVIDIA card and believe it's working.
maybe
I
I
maybe
think
it
the
wasn't.
AMD driver needs Wayland for it. I don't think it
That
works.
could be possible because NVIDIA driver and Wayland don't work together.
Mm.
Well, yeah. I don't know if they'll ever get that straightened out though. It doesn't. I mean,
They
that's been the
probably
case.
will sooner or later.
Yep, they started
I'm
developing
getting-
Wayland 10 years ago, Big Pod.
Yeah, but they're still 20 years from getting developed.
Yeah,
Because we should remember that X took development up until now. It isn't like they're trying to get from the zero to where X is right now. It's gonna take time.
yeah, X began development in the 80s. You know,
Yeah.
that's how old X is.
I don't
Yeah.
even think X was developed for Linux distributions initially, was it? I think it was
Was it
like an
built for
old Unix
BSD?
program.
No, Linux didn't exist when X was started. Yeah, they were using it on some Unix operating system. They were using it on BSD and other things.
Plan 9.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
Anish in chat wants to ask some questions, apparently.
No, well, I'm
But he
sure.
hasn't said what they are. He just says, I want to ask you questions,
Yeah,
guys.
it's always
Then
scary.
ask 'em.
Give me an opportunity to plug stock gnome with the add white theme, and I'll be and I'll answer any question.
I am
You.
desperately trying to find a way to change that with a config file, otherwise NixOS is not going to make it easy for me.
I will say, doing this YouTube channel and getting emails and messages on Mastodon and Reddit and places like that, it always scares me when somebody says, "Hey, I want to ask you a question," before they ask it, because you know it's going
Yeah.
to be something
Yeah.
crazy. The same people that send you the emails or the direct messages and say, "Hey, just a quick message," and then you have to scroll down like forever. Just a quick message.
Just a quick,
most
150 line
amazing
message on Reddit will be
just a
fine.
quick message, and then right away they send you that long thing. So you know they basically first-
multi-paragraph, like little slight rundown of their college.
and then you know that they
yeah.
actually first written that whole paper, copied it out, and wrote just a quick message, and then pasted that in and pressed enter.
I give you guys a little tip in case you do some content creation on something like YouTube or a platform. You get a lot of messages. The ones you know to ignore, I've learned to ignore this one, and I get it all the time. I get an email or a comment or a direct message or something, and it begins with, "Hey DT, I know you probably won't answer this." And they're right. As soon as they say that first line, I move on to the next one. Because you know whatever's coming after that is going to be just something ridiculous. Don't even bother.
I know you won't answer this, but is Xmonad written in Python?
Is it written in Python?
Great question.
How you doing, Chris?
Thank you. Next. Like,
Chris, you're somewhat frozen and blocky.
Yeah, I should do a video on all the catchphrases and stuff people use in emails and messages, because there's like 10 of them. Like I see immediately, and then I know, don't even read that. I just skip it, or I immediately delete it. I'm not even going to waste my time reading their message, because as soon as you start with the first line, like, "Hey, I know you probably won't answer this."
yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't think that's ever going to be a problem for me. I don't get emails from anyone, so.
Well, I get them from DT.
Yeah.
And from many times I get them from GitHub, and that's about it.
Yeah, I don't use email that much. I mean, I get a lot of emails, but it's usually automatic email notifications from things like Mastodon and Patreon and things like that. Or if somebody messages me, I'll get that message, but I don't sit around and send emails. I almost never open up an email client. I'll open up my email client once or twice a day just to check my messages, but I'm not just sitting around waiting on messages. And the same thing with social media. I've never got that where people are so tied to this damn thing, and every tweet, they get it on their phone. Why do you need every tweet? It's like, do you realize how interrupted your life is by all that? It was like,
I think the only people I get tweets for are like the political party I follow and like one of my friends, and that's about it.
Yeah, but do you feel the need that you need to have Twitter or Facebook or whatever notify you about every single thing that goes on the platform?
God, no! I follow like 500 accounts. If I had that, my phone would never stop going off.
Because I've got these friends, their phone's beeping constantly. Yeah, it's going off, every second. It's like, and then they got to read it. They got to see what's on it.
Yeah,
I mean, Cloud is actually something I just straight up disable on everything, even like my computers. Like, I just don't want notifications. If you're gonna send me a notification, send it to me in like an email or through like a chat program, because I don't want to see it pop up out of nowhere on my desktop.
Something that gives you time to go through it when you want to go through it.
Yeah.
It's like
I have notifications for my server, push notifications, so I see if it goes down or something, or for my email, and that's about it.
Most of the time I have notifications turned off on my desktop. I don't get notifications. Sometimes I don't even run a policy kit because I don't want anything to pop up. I don't want it. When I'm doing stuff, I don't want any distractions. I don't want to.
Plazy and chat's just gone. I think it should notify me if there's a warp core breach. Anything less is cruft.
Right.
I mean, I'm the guy that uses the engine weather rock, so it's just like I just don't even want to know what's going on in the future.
Yeah, I don't need dunce or any kind of notification daemon or notification system running. I don't have systrays. I don't even want the systray icons.
Well, I'm that shameless guy who will freely admit to the fact that they spent about 20 minutes configuring dunce to look nice. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's cool if you use notifications.
Then again, I sit here and I talk to Linux guys while having, Google Home on my shelf and all of that sort of thing. So.
Who
I mean,
cares?
I got like 2,000 CDs of classical music behind me, so I don't see a problem with this.
I have Spotify, so
Plus, the
I
notifications
have
look
a
crazy.
bed behind me.
The notifications look crazy if I'm recording, like I'm, live streaming right now, and then all of a sudden we get a notification window pop up on the stream, and maybe it's some spam email, from some scandalous
Why
site.
don't-
Oh my
you could,
goodness.
You could fix that really easily. Just tell OBS to just record the Jitsi window.
Yeah. Not
But
the
that's
screen
hard.
itself.
Just do a screen capture. That way, whenever like you receive the email message giving you like the passcode for your two-factor authentication, other people
Yeah.
can see it.
Right.
Yeah, it's,
It's like-
fine.
It's
Don't
like
worry about
funny
it.
how professors at my school basically receive emails because some of them work on outside as well. They receive
Oh, when I-
confidential emails, and Thunderbird opens the big notification.
On the yeah.
oh
This
no,
is
it's-
confidential.
the funny thing is, when I was still in secondary school, our teachers used to get emails, but they would never disconnect their laptop from like the big projector on the ceiling that had massive speakers on it. So whenever they get an email, there's just this really loud like bass boosted notification sound, and we're like, right, you've got an email, like.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it pop up in the screen just like, can insert name here please be moved to reception, they are needed and they are they've caused some issues or something like that.
Well, when you share stuff on screen, you do run the risk of sharing stuff you don't want to. Because I've made, I don't know, 750, 800 videos now on YouTube. I have a lot of videos. And there's been a couple of times where I've gotten something on camera I didn't realize it, that I probably shouldn't have. Like
Including your IP address.
like a password to something, or some other kind of personal information that you really didn't want out there for the public. Which brings me to this next topic: have a different password for every service you use, because if I accidentally leak a password for something, like if I had Jitsi set for a password and it's leaked, oh well, I just want one password. One password's all I got to worry about. The people that use the same password for 15 different things, you don't realize how bad you screwed yourself. If somebody got into your email and they had your email password, well, now they can read, okay, he got this message from this bank. I wonder if he used the same email for that bank. He did. Oh, I see he's also on Facebook. Does he have the same, and all of a sudden they get into everything you've ever done because you use the same password for everything.
That's the exact reason. That's the exact reason I started self-hosting Bitwarden, and it's also why I say to anyone, if you want to try out Bitwarden, you can use my instance, because it makes it so easy.
Yeah.
You generate a password, you paste it in, you save it, done.
Because I sometimes get people messaging me about GitHub and GitLab where they pushed a dot file or a config or something that had something saved in plain text. They didn't want to. It had my password to something in it. And it's
No! I pushed my SSH private key.
And when people do that, you're like, okay. So your password is on GitHub now. There's nothing you can do about it. Change your password. Well, I got to change 25 passwords now because you shouldn't have done that, right? Change all your passwords now, and then use a password manager.
The funny thing is, like, all but like a couple of my passwords are now randomly generated, but Bitwarden, Bitwarden RS that which is the one that I run, it's got a feature that will find all of the passwords where your password is the same, and it will just list all of them so you know which ones to change.
Yeah.
And when I started out, I think I had something like 86. So
Yeah, I use Pass for all of my passwords, and I think I might have about 30 passwords in it. I don't use a ton of stuff where I need a password, but I have about 30 different things listed in it.
I would like to start using Pass, but it's difficult to use, especially when you factor in the fact that you want your password manager to be cross-platform, especially in the case of something like having your phone, where you you're setting random passwords for everything. You want to be able to log into things on your phone as well as your PC.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there a Android app for Pass? I bet
There is an Android app for Pass, but it also means that you have to find a way to securely send your GPG secret key and all of that sort of thing.
You send it with your Nextcloud.
You've got to find somewhere to securely store the your pass vault so you can keep it in sync with your
could you
PC
use,
and your phone via the
Nextcloud for
Android
that?
Pass. You could, but then you also need to worry about having the hosting for that.
Yeah, and secured. I personally currently
exactly.
use LastPass, but I'm trying to move to my own self-hosted instance of Bitwarden.
Do you use Bitwarden, or are you trying out Bitwarden RS?
I'm going to move sooner or later.
Don't use the official Bitwarden server. They lock a bunch of features behind a paywall.
Yeah, I'm going to self-host myself.
Oh no, that's with the self-hosted one. They lock features behind a premium tier. If you do a search for Bitwarden_RS, there's a Rust-based equivalent that works with all the same Bitwarden apps, but all of those features are just part of the server.
Yeah, I guess if you got to have something cross-platform, then you kind of
you're kind of locked. You're kind of locked into something like LastPass or like what I've done, Bitwarden or something like that. Or
how about
what was the one that? What was the one about? What was the one that like? Well, no, KeyPass suffers from the same issue as Pass, though. You've still got to find somewhere secure
to transfer
to store and sync
that has all the keys.
Yeah, if you use something centralized like Bitwarden or LastPass or Dashlane, that's the other one, or something like that, you don't have to worry about that. You install an app on your PC, you install an app on your phone, you're done.
I guess you kind of have to use something web-based if you want it truly cross-platform.
Yeah.
I mean, I just use Bitwarden as well because it works.
Yeah, it works, and it doesn't have a ton of unnecessary features.
The thing with me using Pass, though, for all my passwords, like my phone, I actually don't log into anything on my phone. I'm such a weird person as far as phones. I don't use my phone for anything. I don't do online banking. I don't log into PayPal on my phone. I don't do anything on my phone. Anything that requires any kind of information like that, I just do on my computer anyway. Don't log into any kind of web forms or anything. I think I am logged into Reddit on my phone. And I think Mastodon, I'm logged into it, where I get notifications from those two on my phone if I need them.
If there's a website that I use online that has an app, chances are I've probably got that app on my phone. So I'm like the complete opposite of that.
Yeah.
I use my phone quite a lot, mainly because if I'm out and about, I just don't want to pull every time I need to do something, pull my laptop out.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though I still do that.
Why should why should I pull out my laptop when I can just in a couple of taps have Reddit open?
Let me ask you something, Big Pod. This is something very important. Have you switched from Nano to Micro yet?
No.
Still on Nano.
that was a very stoic no, just like no.
Based on the fact that I edit maybe 1% of all text files in Terminal. I don't need to switch to anything else than Nano.
I expected that answer.
I'm happy. I have been using NeoVim for everything for a couple of months now, and I am perfectly happy with it.
I have gotten so many Nano users. It's like, why are you trying to get me to change? I love Nano. Go away. It's like, okay, whatever.
On Twitter, there's a gimmick account called Real Nano User 1, and literally just every day they tweet like you should be using Nano and all that sort of thing, and they find like random tweets about things like Vim. Just like it's always a shame when you see people that haven't found the light.
Well, I use VS Code, so I technically didn't find light yet, but that light I don't want to find. Really, I don't want to find it. Fact. Before Nano, there was no such thing as a 0 day, but rather 0 days were discovered in the first Nano buffers. To this day, the best way to find 0 days remains in the Nano buffers, for they are the source.
Derek,
Yes, sir.
how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, I know. What about a Slack? You know the Slack program that a lot of companies use,
No,
like a chat forum. Have you not heard of Slack?
Yeah.
I've heard of it. I've never used it. I actually don't use any of this. Like I don't use Jitsi or Zoom or anything other than this here. So
I can't stand Slack. Slack is annoying
Yeah.
to deal with.
that's why I struggle with this stuff once a month. Every time I try to set something up, it's because I never use these things. But Slack, I probably wouldn't want to use it for this because Slack is not open source, is it? I'm pretty sure it's proprietary. Yeah. The only reason I'm using
it's just that I'm on a
yeah.
Yeah, sorry. No, I'm on a course at the moment at Code with Code Nation. It's mainly web development and stuff like that.
No.
And we use Zoom on there.
Yeah.
And our contact point is on Slack.
Yeah.
And it's pretty good, for posting information.
Yeah, if I was going to use a proprietary,
if
I was going to use a proprietary video chat platform, we'd probably just use Zoom because that's what we'd been using anyway. But people were wanting to do something open source, so we're giving Jitsi a go today.
There's now server group video as well on Discord. That's been released recently.
A server group video on Discord, yes. So
yeah. You can do group video calls on a Discord server now.
Okay.
You weren't able to before.
Yeah, it was always one-on-one, right?
Yeah, I think if is there already a voice channel on your Discord server?
Yeah, I have
yes,
a voice
there is.
Yes, there
So
is.
in general, basically, if you go in there, there's a button in the bottom corner that should just say video. Click on that, you can just start doing a video call right from Discord.
Well, we might try that at some point because, at least with Discord, I imagine most people probably already have it installed anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
It's proprietary software, but at least you ain't got to go get something that you didn't already have anyway.
I feel like Discord is one of the better proprietary softwares, though.
I don't know about that. As far as it being good software, or
well, yeah. I mean, obviously, you can't really say anything about the company itself because we don't know anything about the company itself. But the software itself, it's designed well, it works well.
It's Electron.
The only thing that I would say is when I've done voice chats or video calls, I've had issues at times with getting some of that stuff to work. It doesn't recognize a camera or mic, but that's everything. I mean, I have problems with Jitsi. I have problems with Zoom sometimes with that kind of stuff. So.
Initux said Microsoft Teams for the win. I disagree strongly, but okay.
Well, for us at school, it worked great as it was. So
yeah, it might work great, but the UI is terrible. It's a sluggish app, and the screen sharing and all of that hasn't been ported to Linux properly. So you can only share your entire screen or one of your monitors. You can't share specific applications or anything like that. So
yeah, but
I
people
do not
use
like
Linux
Microsoft
with
Teams.
How many
Sorry?
people use Teams on Linux? I can count probably. Ironically for me, Teams doesn't work on Windows.
The frustrating thing is that the community maintained like Electron Teams app that is literally just like an Electron window to the Teams web client has the features that the official Linux client doesn't. It's just so frustrating.
Somebody in the chat is asking about what I use, and you guys can answer this too, to read EPUB files. I know I'm old school. I'm a Luddite. I have a e-reader that I use but Zathura is somebody already mentioned in the chat is what I use.
My phone.
Yeah. As far as on my computer, I'll use Zathura. That's your standard PDF reader on Linux. I think I also have Events also installed, which is the GNOME PDF reader, isn't it?
I believe yes.
Yeah. Either one of those should work fine for you, though.
Yeah.
As far as
Yeah,
the
I
best
agree with
option,
I agree with what Chris has just said in chat. Teams works, but the UI is confusing, especially when trying to share files.
now if you wanted to, you could always. There was a command line way of reading a terminal program to read EPUB files, and I've discussed this a couple of times on camera very briefly. I can't remember offhand what it is.
Well, isn't EPUB just a zip file basically?
Some kind of compressed format.
And then there is a bunch of PDFs or bunch of images inside.
And GNU Ninja is saying Calibre is great for EPUB. Yeah, Calibre is actually how I get them on this device. Yeah, Calibre is great. If you guys have never seen that program.
Yeah, we have a massive ebook collection in my family, and my dad manages it all with Calibre.
Yeah, and if you need a minimal PDF reader, Zathura seems to be the one that everybody installs on like window manager, tiling window manager systems.
I think just sort of building on what Plazi has just said in chat, one of the other great features of Calibre is the fact that it can scrape metadata for the books. So if you've got a book that doesn't have particularly good metadata on it, you can just run the scraper and it'll pull in all the latest from like Amazon and Google Books and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's good for editing that metadata too, if you need to.
Yeah, because the sync thing as well, it makes it really easy because you can specifically select which fields you want it to update before you actually save them. So,
yeah,
I was looking at FB Reader, but it uses Qt, I believe, and looks awful according to the informatist.
When you say it looks awful, I mean, does it look awful as far as you can't read the EPUB file, or are you just worried about the cute window decorations? Because if I'm just wanting to read something, I'm not worried about whether the cute theme matches my GTK theme, or I don't know. I know aesthetics mean a lot to some people. Like if there's a pixel off on something, they'll notice.
Plazi has just said, you've started something. DT pronounces it Calibre, and the English chap in the middle it says Calibre. Which is it, or is this another potato issue?
Calibre.
Yeah, it could be. And guys, are you streaming this using the terminal only? No, this is being streamed with OBS. Pretty sure that's what 99.9% of everybody on YouTube uses to stream is OBS. I mean, technically,
you could use FFmpeg.
Yeah, I was about to say, technically, that you could do it some other ways, but you would be strange doing it that way.
I actually maintain okay, I'm not maintaining, but I'm one of the few people who have access to the server that does basically just that. It takes an input and basically just streams it to YouTube when we're doing stuff at school, and it does that with FFmpeg.
Using FFmpeg for a stream, or using something like Simple Screen Recorder, things like that, they're okay if all you're doing is just streaming your desktop. If that's all you're doing, that's great. If you're doing anything beyond that, I mean anything beyond that, you have to use OBS.
We do everything pre-processing on the proper hardware for that. So all that streamer does is basically it gets the HDMI or SDI input and streams it to internet.
Yeah, I guess he was clarifying about the cute theme on FB Reader. It says the icons look crappy. Okay. Right. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you other than find a GTK app that works for you. Or you know what? Do you have to read it as an EPUB file? Can't you convert it to something else?
Extract it.
Yeah, I mean
and read each file myself.
Yeah, convert it to a PDF and view it in your favorite PDF reader. Or can you convert it to HTML and view it in Firefox? Or I bet you could work something out where you wouldn't have to use that crappy Qt app.
What's your favorite music streaming service? I think everyone here would except me, probably owns their music. So
For me, it's MPD.
Yeah,
No,
Music
that-
player thing.
I think he's talking
that-
about where
that's
you
this,
my
this,
streaming
this is more like
service.
Spotify. This is more like Spotify, Deezer. That sort of
Right,
thing.
right. This is what he's asking.
I know, but I have a streaming service right here,
Yeah, I have
and it plays all the time like a radio.
like 120 gigabytes of music on a hard drive somewhere. But as far as streaming music service, I actually do have Pandora on my phone, so I can stream music at the gym.
I thought Pandora went under.
No,
Still working as of yesterday when I was at the
must-
gym rocking it. Pandora
Well,
80s.
That must just be a UK thing. I think they.
but
stopped
another
doing
great
business
streaming
in the
service
UK.
is called YouTube. They have a free service.
Yeah.
You open a video
Yes,
and you
yes,
play.
they
it.
have a free service that if you want to listen to on your phone, you have to keep your phone open while you
Oh, that's
listen.
right. Yeah, you can't
That
close
is
it.
kind of stupid, but I don't really. When I go, let's say for a run, I just put my phone in the pocket,
Yeah.
away from the leg and screen away from the leg, and that's it.
But you
It
could,
plays.
If you also use MPD, why not just copy the files onto your phone anyway?
right? Or
Yeah, I
Can you
normally
get
do
it-
that, but
you
I
know,
don't have all the
yeah.
music, the newer music. I don't have that, so I.
Big
I
Pod
listen
brings
on
up
YouTube.
an interesting question though. Could you have an MPD server on your phone? Or is it just
Oh yeah,
strictly-
there's I don't know about iOS, but on
Buy a iPhone.
on Android there's Termux, and you can probably get that to run
Yeah.
MPD.
Oh,
Yeah.
you might could
Or
get it
you
to
could
stream.
just buy yourself a Pine phone,
Yeah.
and then you can do
Yes,
basically everything in
yes,
Linux.
if you want absolutely no app support.
Yeah, but
I'm
it would
actually-
be proper GNU /
I actually am planning on buying Pine phone for the next phone.
Have fun with doing nothing with your phone.
Well, one of these phones will stay with me as well. It's, I already
good.
carry two, so I'm gonna carry two in the future.
And I've thought about buying one too,
Well-
but I'm like Big Pod. I already have, this Samsung Galaxy 10. I've got a real phone to use. So if the Pine phone is complete crap,
I'm sorry. Can I just point out the fact that you used a real phone
Right.
there?
right? Well, I don't expect the Pine phone to be a good phone. I'll be honest. I don't expect it to do much. So,
No.
right.
I mean,
Well-
I have my Pixel 3a, and then because I've only just replaced my old phone, I've also got a Galaxy S8 that I replaced with the 3a. So
Well, if I need to test something, this Nokia 6 that was 75 euros does great.
Yeah, that's
And
Fair
I
enough.
listen music on it, and I can throw it to the ground. I don't care for it. And if I want my own phone, I go for this.
Uh.
What's this? Huawei Mate 20
Ugh.
Lite.
Oh,
Oh,
Huawei. Wow.
hang on. You trust Huawei with anything? Ooh,
I can't even get a Huawei here in the U.S. That's weird.
no, they
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, I bought this one before the ban
Yeah.
Why?
because $200. I had a cheap phone. I couldn't buy myself.
He's probably one of those
Normal
people
phone.
that he hears
Okay.
something. He hears something that's about to be banned. I got to get one before the ban. I'm kind of like that too.
Well,
Sometimes I'll do that.
No, catch was I needed a phone real quick
Yeah.
because my old one broke, and I didn't plan on buying a new one because I didn't think it was broke. So I just
So pick
quickly
up
went to
some
the
like
store.
Alcatel Pop Touch 3, like £40
I
$40
needed a real
phone that you
phone.
can just replace later on.
I needed a real phone, and this was like I don't know, it was like 150, 100, or 200 euros, and anyway, I would be locked in a
Okay.
contract, and
Mm.
even
This-
then I had to
this-
buy it on month by month basis. I was
This
so
cost
broke
me
at the time.
346 with a case.
I'm just waiting for like something to be like a year and a half old, so I can throw it into a wall and go and order myself a fine phone.
Yeah, somebody in the chat is asking, can you trust any cell phone makers? You have to trust somebody. You have to.
Yeah,
You
at
have
the end
to,
of the talk, I'll try somebody.
you have to trust the person providing you that service. I mean, you're using their towers. I mean, yeah. I mean, you can't.
That's still too bright.
You can't spin your own cell phone network. Like, yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
At least not
Oh,
yet. Maybe
no.
one day.
One question: 5G.
That's taking self-hosting to an entirely new level.
Right.
What's your opinion of 5G?
I have no opinion on it. as far as if you're asking about the conspiracy theorists kind of stuff, yeah,
We all know what came with 5G.
Yes, of course.
all right.
Yeah.
I actually saw people who are protesting against 5G.
Oh
and
yeah,
I was like,
people will.
holy
Yeah.
Why?
I was walking past them and I actually yelled at them, 5G is a standard, not a signal.
Right.
And they were like, what? And then I
Yeah,
said to
no,
them,
because
"This
most people
is a
don't care.
standard. It's just a paper. Based on that paper, they use the already existing technologies to basically make a better signal. And that's what this
Yeah.
is. And what this paper does is just adds another type of signal.
Mhm.
What a type of signal that's basically so strong that a leaf from a tree, it cannot penetrate that. That's how strong the millimeter wave is. So your skin, well, the skin that will fall off in about 30 seconds, that could get cancer.
Yeah,
There was one thing that I saw that I thought was funny. Not the 5G, but another conspiracy theory. There was something that Donald Trump said sometime last year or something like that. It's just like the sound of windmills can give you cancer or something like that. Like, what?
Yeah, you got to be careful with
Well,
when you start interacting with the conspiracy theorists out there,
yeah,
Yeah.
You-
you have to be careful
because
You got to be careful that you're not stoking the flames.
well,
because the
you're
problem
wasting your
is that
time.
That
you're really
It is
wasting
kind
your
of
time.
drug. For them, that is a drug. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Anyone interested to buy a RISC-V processor? Not until
No.
it's actually viable as a computer processor.
Actually, right now, I'm currently interested in buying one of the new Macs
Oh,
with the ARM processor, so I can see if it's actually ARM.
Well,
It's nothing else.
that's awesome.
Because
I know it will be ARM.
said it's ARM. They never say it's actually ARM. They say it's Apple
Oh.
Silicon. So there is no actual information from Apple, as far as I've seen, that
If
says
they-
specifically it's ARM.
If they outsource the production to TSMC, which they probably are going to do, then chances are it is going to be an ARM processor.
I just want to see by myself if it's actually ARM or if it's something special made by
No.
them.
It'll
mixture
be
between ARM and
a ARM. It'll be Apple ARM.
How are you going to
Yeah,
buy
yeah.
a new Mac with ARM? I mean, I would have to sell a kidney to afford one of those things anyway.
well, Mac Minis aren't that expensive. They're just $900 for a model that I can
$900.
buy in the store for 60
Oh.
bucks.
Only 900.
Yeah, they're going to sell
Ooh,
you
And then-
sorry.
then I'm
$200
gonna
hardware
sell
for
it.
$900.
Actually, I actually have a guy
I
that's going
don't-
to sell it. I already have a guy, and I think I can sell him for $1,000.
I
he-
don't see how people can allow Apple to get away
Yeah.
with having multiple product SKUs. I mean, what they've got the MacBook Air, and the MacBook Pro.
Mhm.
The MacBook
And the iMac
is more
and the Mac
expensive
Pro.
than. No, okay. I'm talking just for MacBooks here. Okay, so they've got the MacBook, which starts at 1,000. They've got the MacBook Air, which starts at 1,000. They've got the MacBook Pro, which starts at 1,200.
Yeah.
If you're already spending that much on a laptop, why?
Yeah.
There's no difference. The only thing you're getting
And
by
even
by
those
buying
three
one over the
different
other
models,
is less performance.
Each has its own SKU, like its own 5 SKUs with that
Yeah,
much RAM, that
exactly.
much CPU. That there's like 15 different models. How is that even affordable by them?
It's just like, oh yeah, here's the MacBook, which is our budget one. Here's the MacBook Air, which is our sort of mid-range one. And here's the MacBook Pro, which is our high-end one. How should we price these? 1,000
you
for all
guys
of them,
know-
be fine.
You guys know you're being trolled by Big Pod. He's not going to buy a MacBook because he knows that
No.
that RAM is soldered in. He's never going to
Yeah.
be able to, to change
Well,
it.
I really would like to have one, like the new ARM one, just for like a month or something like that, to see what's going on and all that.
Yeah.
Just a technical exercise.
It would be
but I wouldn't like to own it.
It would be great if something broke.
Maybe maybe if we have a telephone,
shame, though,
yes.
It's
I'm
a
gonna use
shame
the
though
company.
because Big Sur is going to be probably the final knife in the coffin of Hackintoshes,
Yeah.
especially once they transition onto
Big
Apple
Sur,
Silicon.
no. Big Sur, no. The next one will be. The next one.
Yeah.
This one will still
No,
work.
there are some changes to Big Sur that have been causing issues with OpenCore, which is like the current.
Yeah, but I still
bootloader.
think this one will work because
It will work, but it will cause some serious incompatibility issues, and I think
then
that
the
is going to
next one
start killing
it will
out.
drop Intel. That one won't work at all.
Yeah. Okay.
Because
Yeah, that's fair.
even if you could, you won't have a kernel that would be possible to run your ARM CPU. Even if you, let's say, installed it on
They should write Mac
Pine
OS on the Fuchsia kernel. Be fine. Or Magenta kernel even.
Well, they have whatever. They have their own special Apple Silicon kernel.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, even if it's
Yes.
ARM,
Darwin
every
on a
ARM
Mac.
CPU
Or Darwin
requires
on an ARM
Oh.
processor.
Well,
Yeah.
hell, yeah, every processor from ARM requires its own special kernel. This is one reason I don't like ARM, because the ARM kernel for Raspberry Pi isn't the same, even close to the same as the one for, let's say, PinePhone or Pinebook Pro, even though they're both ARM processors.
I think that sort of comes from like
How it's made.
It's
a RISC architecture, which means it has every
Raspberry
CPU
Pi?
has different different instruction sets, and because of that you need different kernel modules and all that, and it is in many ways better than what x86 is, so CISC architecture, but at the same time, unless you have the instructions required specifically for your jobs. So if those instructions aren't there, you're gonna use 3 times more CPU power and CPU cycles, and it's gonna be completely useless for you. So that is why, for example, the new iPad Pro with the whole you can edit movies like really quickly. Yes, you can, because they actually put in instructions into the CPU that basically does everything really quickly.
And it's going to be completely and totally optimized because it's going to have Apple's full attention and Apple's full control.
They have all the instructions in there. If they didn't have those instructions in there, that would go even slower than on an x86. That it could be half the power, half the CPU core, because you require so much more power to do it.
Yeah.
Was that a penguin?
Well,
It certainly was.
I was actually going to say Big Pod's probably going to install Gentoo on his MacBook anyway. So,
well, I would install something like that. Yeah.
Well, Gentoo
I
has
would
ARM.
try, even though it won't work.
Why would anyone use Gentoo outside of like educational stuff?
Well,
he's going to need something
I don't
that has an
know.
ARM ISO. So he's going to need Gentoo.
Actually, anything has ARM ISO, but really, the problem is, you know what the problem is? That it still won't work, because Apple probably won't release a Linux kernel with their Apple Silicon modules.
No, of course they won't.
They're going to have it locked
Apple
down.
And
supporting anything that isn't Apple.
And automatically that means Linux won't work on Boot Camp on Mac. Same with Windows.
No,
if they won't,
but there's always going to be some sort of community-driven,
unless
sort of
some
porting
community
effort.
they can get it ported, but I don't know how well that will work. So
it'll probably
hold your
be
breath.
it'll probably be similar. I mean, I know it's not because it's on a completely different CPU instruction set, but obviously there was quite a lot of trouble with the Surface Linux kernel. That took quite a while to get to a stable point.
Again, completely different beast. That was.
I know. Like I said, that wasn't like porting. That wasn't like porting it to an entirely new like instruction set, but it was still quite a big job for custom hardware.
With this, you will have to basically write the whole code for a CPU to work, and that's the problem.
Well,
And
all right, guys.
that's why I'm not that fan of RISC architectures like ARM or RISC-V or something like that. I'm more fan of CISC like x86 and stuff like that.
I think we've reached the point where there really isn't going to be much room for movement in things like CPUs because everything is built for x86, x64, and ARM, and that's it.
No, RISC-V is going to get there soon.
Yeah, basically.
Well, I don't think it's going to get there anytime soon. I think it is probably going to get there, but I don't think it's going to be any time within the next couple of 20 years or anything like that.
20 years.
I think it's going to take quite a while.
Get there quicker than that. 20 years.
We'll still be 19 years and 11 months. 19 years and 11 months.
Still get there before Wayland.
Most probably, yes.
Yeah.
Hey, before we go, I did want to answer a couple of questions here. We're getting the end of the 2-hour mark here. Somebody was asking me how I got into classical music, because I've got a bunch of classical music on my system and people see me play it sometimes. Obviously, I started learning music, playing musical instruments as a young kid. Playing classical music is how I got into learning classical music. And then once you start playing it, you start liking some of it. And you buy recordings of the stuff you're trying to learn. Then you get into other stuff. And then even as a kid, I wanted to learn how to write music, compose music. And a lot of the instructional books, textbooks on that stuff give you examples of classical composers, the forms that they wrote in. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you study music in a serious way, you're going to study classical music. So there's no way around it. Keep It Techie was in the chat. He said, hi, how you doing, Josh? You guys, if you're not subscribed to Keep It Techie, check him out. Other than that, we've just got a couple of minutes here. So why don't we take a minute or so and get everybody to give us a farewell. So why don't we start with Jean-Michel? You want to say anything before we go? Okay.
Yeah, so first I want to say a great hello to everyone from Switzerland. I'm living in Switzerland.
Oh, great.
It's going to be evening now for me, so I will have a dinner after that. From a Linux point of view, I was a Linux user 20 years ago. Then I went away to be business-wise on Mac OS mainly. And now I got retired. Okay. And I restart using Linux again. And based on your videos, DT, I moved now fully to Linux about 1 year ago.
Oh.
So I have nothing else than Linux machines. And first I was on XFCE. Now I went to i3 a few months. And now I'm going to move to a dynamic tiling Windows Manager. I installed Spectre VM.
Oh. Great.
A week ago, I have some trouble with, so I need to deep into. But I'm sure I will stay on the dynamic tiling wider.
Yeah, Spectre WM. If you're only used to i3, is a little strange because Spectre WM, Qtile, and Xmonad handle workspaces in a very similar way, but completely different to i3. So if all you know is i3, when you start moving stuff around, it can be a little weird. But I bet you'll get used to it pretty fast. What distro do you run?
At the moment, I'm still on Debian testing. I may try to use an Archbase. I installed already 1-2 time Arch on laptops, on all the laptops.
Okay.
I may switch to an Arch-based, I don't know, maybe Arco or I don't know.
Yeah, if you want to try out some window managers, Arco is nice because, you can get one already pre-configured for you. I mean, you're going to eventually configure it yourself, but at least you have a good starting point where it's not just a black screen, right?
I think it was interesting because as I'm on Debian, I had to start with a non-configured i3, so I had to go through all the, and maybe it was not bad because someone you will have to learn it.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah.
Mm.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us today. And Hayden, would you like to give us a last word?
Just sort of wanted to say the videos you've been putting out have been really useful for a lot of reasons, and they've helped my switch to Xmonad, and I'm sure they've helped a lot of people try out some new software. So that's really cool. Other than that,
Oh, well, I
not
appreciate
much.
that. Well, thank you, Hayden. And yeah, the Xmonad videos. I mean, I make these videos on things like Xmonad, knowing most people are not going to ever use Xmonad. These videos aren't going to get a ton of views, but the thing is, I know I want people to learn this stuff, you know, because I like Xmonad. And nobody else is going to make this content. I already know that. You're not going to find any other content on it, so I'm going to take one for the team and, you know, put some of this out there. All right, Big Pod.
Thank you guys for watching us, and you can check me out on YouTube.
No.
I am Big Pod on YouTube, and I'm planning on doing a series of videos on containerization and Docker.
Can't wait.
That will be an interesting one to watch.
That'll be useful.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do more with Docker, so I'm going to check out Big Pod's videos once he publishes them. All right.
I use Docker all the time, so I'll have to check those out.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, James, would you like to give us a last word, sir?
Certainly, thank you. Yeah, I just use Ubuntu as my OS, and it's
a great
a lot
distro.
faster than yeah. I can do what I want, and I'm very happy with the way everything's running, and learning from your tips and videos.
NixOS.
So I'd encourage everyone to continue watching the channel.
All right, thanks, James. And
Okay.
we had some patrons in the chat. I know Chris Kelling tried to join us, and he dropped out before he could say anything, but he says he has to get some newer hardware before trying Jitsi again, so I guess he was having computer problems. But thanks for hanging out with us, Chris. Thanks for everybody that's hanging out in the YouTube chat. I know we got, you know, still over 100 people hanging out in the YouTube chat. Thank you guys for your interactions and the questions that you gave us. And of course, I want to thank all the patrons that joined me on camera. I also want to thank all the patrons that couldn't be here. So I'm going to show some names on the screen. This is the patrons of the channel. I want to thank each and every one of those ladies and gentlemen, because without them, obviously, none of this would be possible. All right, guys. Well, wave bye to the YouTube. Bye.